everyone, my name is Kieran from Red Devil Weekly. Tonight we're going to be reviewing Manchester United's 1-0 win against Kristiansund. And as I said, it's not really the best of games. It wasn't really the most vintage performance, let's say, from Manchester United, but they make it 5 out of 5 from the pre-season tour with one game left to play on the 3rd of August. Pogba and Mata goal in the end. That was all it took for United to get the win in the kind of 91st minute of the game. Only 2 minutes added on. Unluckily for the Kristiansund keeper, he gives away the penalty after a pretty decent through ball by Paul Pogba. Mata doing some good work in the box, and he slotted the penalty home. But realistically, I'm not sure whether our performance today really warranted a 1-0 win. I think you could say Kristiansund definitely would feel hard done by with the fact they lost the game. But in these preseason games, as I said in the preview for the game, it's not really about the win, it's not really about the result, it's about how hard a test it was and how good of a run out it is for the players. So ultimately, I thought it was a good run out, and the fitness was there, and that was good. Welcome, Sickball. Thanks for joining. Says wasn't expecting a little score. A lot of you guys, from what I saw you saying in last night's stream in the preview, I don't think many of us were expecting a very small scoreline. So a lot of people, saying 4, 5, 6, 1. Didn't plan out that way. Kristiansund, fair play to them. They defended really, really well. So yeah, they've got to be very, very happy with the way they performed today. And so unfortunate they were to give away a penalty in like the last minute as well. Really unfortunate for them. But they can hold their heads up high. They really did, hold their own in that game. And actually, they probably had the best chance of the whole game. One of their strikers heading nearly into the back of the net, just across the goal in the end. But if they had stuck that in, it could have been a very, very different story, I can tell you that right now. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the game. Who was your man of the match? As you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, I went with Marcus Rashford as my man of the match. I gave him an 8-point rating. He played very, very well in the first half. He created a lot of chances and was just generally lively in that first half. So I gave him the man of the match. In the second half, no one really stood out for me, I'm going to be honest. As I said, players looked lively going forward. Chong, Greenwood, they created a few opportunities, but ultimately I didn't see anyone who really stood out for Manchester United in that game apart from Marcus Rashford, and hopefully we can see similar form to that in the Premier League. I think it would be better if he was more clinical, and I think it's definitely something that he's continuing to work on in his game, but he did look alright today. Krishna, welcome to the stream, thanks for joining. He says, yo bro, I've gone wrong in my predictions, but correct in the formation. Yeah, I did see that. They went with a 4-2-3-1 formation, so maybe I'm going to have to tweak my formation prediction in the next one. Welcome Dan, thanks for joining mate as well. He says, what an entertaining match, not United buying 6-0 up, yeah. No, of course, buying 6-0 up, yeah, I know, but yeah, that United game, yes, there was a lot of shots, to be fair, there's a lot of attempts on goal from Manchester United, but in the end of the day, we didn't put in a great performance, and I think Solskjaer is definitely going to pick up on that and hopefully tweak a few things. And there are definitely a lot of areas within that game which showed that we did need to bring in new players. Although realistically, that's probably not that's not something that should be new to us at this stage. So. Of course, with all the transfer speculation flying about, it does seem that United are going to try and get some signings done in the next few days. But yeah, today's performance was not a vintage performance whatsoever. And yes, we did, continue our 100% record in pre-season, which is nice. But ultimately, it doesn't mean too much. It only means anything if you actually go into the Premier League season and hit the ground running. And, if we play the way we did today in the Premier League, I do fear for us this season. But again, we just need to take the positives from that game and just regroup really and go into the next one. Christian says lots of chances missed. Yeah, there were quite a few missed chances in that game. We did have a lot of shots on goal. That's what I'm saying. There were a lot of attempts on goal, but ultimately there were two. Most of those chances were missed. I put Rashford as man of the match really because I felt like he made the keeper work the most. I felt like he was probably the most lively player out of all of our forward players and probably showed the most quality, even though he didn't score his goal in the end. But was still in that game. it's the final pass. It really is that final pass. You know, we do very nice build up to get to the edge of the box, which is brilliant. But you need someone, a quality player, someone who's composed under pressure when players are around him, to be able to slot that final ball through and create the chance. And the only time we saw a quality final ball through was when Paul Pogba at the end played a beautiful slide rule pass to Pogba and Mata, who was unfortunately tripped, but still, he played a really, really nice slide rule pass to Pogba and Mata, who did win the penalty and scored the penalty as well. So I think that was probably the one time in the game where I saw an absolute quality pass in the final ball, and that is something that United have to work on and have been working on for the last kind of 2 or 3 seasons, and it's not good enough really. Dazzo on the stream, mate, thanks for joining. He says, I said last time, what's the bet it ends 1-0 after everyone said 5-0 and above? Exactly, you seemed like you were right, Dazza. It seemed like your prediction came off, and it wasn't the most entertaining game. As I said, yes, there were a load of chances, but as you say there, Daz, we were expecting a lot more goals, and we just didn't take the chances that we were presented with. And also, actually fair play to the Kristiansund keepers. They were very, very strong as well. Made some absolutely blinding saves. So, again, you have to give credit where credit's due, but at the same time, we should be finishing some of the chances that we got, and in some areas, just, the final ball is what counts. As I said, we get to the edge of the box, and then we just put a bit too much power on it, or a bit too little power on it. And I really thought that game was going to end 0-0, because I just didn't see where that goal was going to come from. But luckily, the third keeper that came on for Kristiansund in the end, made a bit of a mistake, and Mata slotted the penalty home. And I think 1-0 was probably not a fair result. I really do think the Kristiansunds were defended well enough for the 0-0, and if they were to get a draw out of that game, they would have been absolutely ecstatic with it. So, fair play to the way they played. They did very, very well, and we definitely need to improve, and we can't play like that in the Premier League, and just in the start of the season generally. Dazza says, a bit worrying considering that's our first team, especially in the first half. I think the players that played in the first half was kind of the team that resembled potentially Solskjaer's starting 11. Obviously, you got Tahith in there, Lindelof, Jones, Shaw and Wan-Bissaka. Then you had McTominay, Pogba and Pereira, and then did Pereira play? I'm not too sure. No, I think it was Pogba, Pereira, and then you had Daniel James, Marcus Rashford, and Anthony Martial. A lot of people saying that's going to be the lineup that will go into the first game of the season, although, as I said, we're not too sure, depending on where there's, signings, of course, before the window ends. It seems like there's going to be a lot of chance of signings happening before the windows end. 2 or 3 players at least linked with Manchester United. I think, realistically, we're probably only going to get 1, potentially 2, but I think one of those players, if we were to get one of them, I want to get Harry Maguire. I think I've said this before. I think our defence is something that definitely needs strengthening first before we look at the forward role. But still, maybe I'm wrong off today's performance. Maybe we need to focus on trying to have the quality to break down teams that part the bus. Because let's face it, in the Premier League, you're going to get teams lower down the table that are going to part the bus, that are going to make it hard for us. And if you can't break them down, then there's no point. And I think we have had trouble with that in the last kind of 3 or 4 seasons. That's why we've been getting, loads of draws against lower league teams at Old Trafford, because they come to Old Trafford, they set up to defend, and we just can't break them down. And then, maybe they score a goal, and then once they've got that goal and they're defending, it's very, very hard for us to come back from that. So again, we need to learn and we need to improve on, breaking teams down in that sort of respect. So hopefully we can do that. Today we got very fortunate that in the last minute, the keeper did bring down one of our players, made a bit of a mistake. That was the only reason why we won that game. I'm telling you, I thought it really deserved to be a 0-0 draw today, and that's saying something, especially when you're playing Kristiansund. No disrespect to them. Welcome Tech, thanks for joining, mate, really appreciate it. Thanks for joining the stream. But, it wasn't a vintage performance by any stretch of the imagination. And ultimately, we did get the job done. We got we got the win. We don't get any points for this. But, we got the win, 5 out of 5. But in pre-season, it doesn't really mean anything. Unless you back it up in the league, it means nothing. So, again, that's something we're going to have to improve on, our forward play. I thought defensively we weren't too bad today, although, Kristiansund didn't offer too much going forward. They had a few chances, and actually they had probably the best chance of the afternoon, but at the same time they didn't offer too much going forward. It wasn't the most entertaining game, and I think a lot of United fans were hoping for, especially a lot of you guys that I saw in the live chat yesterday, were hoping for a humdinger game with loads of goals in it, but just didn't seem to go that way. Obviously happy that we got the win, but in pre-season, it's not really the results that matter, is it? It's the performance, and it's the minutes that the players get under their belt. And I think obviously it was a good run out. I thought today was a good test. Obviously a team that was kind of more set up defensively, wanting to defend, and it really did give our forward players a bit of a run around and made them work for that goal that they got in the end. And that's what I'm saying. The way we got the goal was a good final ball. A good final ball, helped us. And as I said, we didn't really show that throughout the whole game. That final ball that Pogba played to Pogba and Mata was the one time in the game that we got our final ball spot on. And if we had got our final ball better earlier in the game, then I think, we would have scored a few more. But our final ball today was absolutely shocking. And it's been that way for a few seasons. And as I said, maybe someone like Dybala would improve that. Who knows? Of course, that is something which I'm not even sure it's going to happen. It's apparently his agent is in London talking to Manchester United over a potential move to Man United. So we'll see what happens with that. Fergie United and 20 Sports Patrick, thanks for joining. Fergie United says, worrying performance for me. Before we started this game, we thought we were playing a new style of play that could defeat or break down any team. We were wrong. Matic is poor. Big improvement needed. I totally agree with you. I didn't think Matic was up to the plate today, although, to be fair, a lot of we knew that before we played. But it seems like Solskjaer does favour Nemanja Matic. Now, it looks like if we do bring in Bruno Fernandes, which is looking kind of likely, although I'm still a bit, sceptical whether we're going to be able to get that deal over the line. If we do bring in Fernandes, I feel like we're going to see Pogba and Fernandes alongside Nemanja Matic. So I think Solskjaer does favour Matic in that midfield role. And yes, he can be solid, but he just takes too long on the ball, and he just doesn't seem to want to, progress the play fast enough, which, if you're going to be in a team which is challenging for those top four places, especially in the kind of modern style of football where... the modern style of football where everyone's pressing you, everyone's on your toes as soon as you get the ball, where it's high press, the Jurgen press, as they say. Matic is so bad playing against a team that presses the ball because he just can't move it on quick enough, and that is a big problem we're going to have with him. But I totally agree with you, mate. If we are going to play like that, there's a massive improvement that is needed before we start the season. So we just have to take the positives and go again. But there weren't too many positives really to take from that game. Patrick says maybe we weren't going for loads of goals. Maybe we were trying different things. Didn't see the game. Well, I thought. You could be right, but the way I watched the game, it didn't look brilliant. We did have a lot of the ball, and we did create quite a few chances. We just didn't put it in the back of the net. We weren't clinical enough in front of goal. And in the end, we got our goal from a mistake that the keeper made, coming out and wiping Mata out, really. But there wasn't too much going forward, I have to say. Tech says Dybala to United is a chess move. Dybala and Pogba are close. Dybala to United, Pogba stays, period. Well, that's an interesting point, actually. I've never really thought about it that way. Yes, I knew that Pogba and Dybala were quite close, but actually, you could be right there. You could be right. A lot of United fans, however, are fearing the worst and saying potentially it could be another Di Maria. Now, we're not going to know until obviously he's played probably about a full season at Manchester United, but it does resemble the Di Maria situation. If you remember, Real Madrid wanted to get rid of Di Maria, and Di Maria wanted out as well. But when Man United came in for him, it wasn't actually the first choice of club that he wanted to go to, and he was almost forced out the door to go to Manchester United because we were the only club that were willing to pay his wages. So potentially this Dybala situation is very, very similar. Maybe Dybala doesn't really want to come to Manchester United, but he's being forced out of Juventus and into Manchester United's hands, and he hasn't got too much of a say about it. So if that's the case, I'd rather not have him, because the problem we've been having over the past few seasons is that we haven't been having players to play for Manchester United who want to play for Manchester United and want to do the best for this club. We've had players who are playing solely for the money, and I don't want that to happen again. Patrick says, please subscribe to my channel, guys, if you haven't. Just uploaded my second video. Yeah, make sure you check out 20 Sports. Really, really good stuff on there. And if you haven't already, make sure you do check that out. Yeah, please do check it out. I'm sure he would appreciate it. And yeah, it'd be a good thing for you to do. If you haven't already, check it out. But as I said, I went with Rashford, man of the match. If you did watch the game, let me know your thoughts on who was your man of the match. But to be honest, a very uneventful game. I couldn't really pick out too many players who had a good game. I thought Greenwood, looked lively up there, as he always does, seemingly, for Manchester United on pre-season. Making some good bursts down the right-hand side. Was unlucky not to score, had a few decent chances. I mean, Scott McTominay in that first half played very well, but he was just shooting on sight, wasn't he? He just hit the post a couple of times. He caused a lot of problems for that Kristiansund's defence, but obviously, we shouldn't be relying on Scott McTominay to score our goals, but it's good to see that he's got attacking intent in him. So yeah, we hope that he continues that. My thoughts on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka today, the new signings, of course, seeing how they continually bed into the squad, which is great. I thought Daniel James was alright. I feel like with Daniel James, though, that sometimes he almost like he feels like he gets intimidated by the players that are around him. I feel like sometimes he just go for it. He's got the pace, he's got the ability to run at players and cause problems. But sometimes I feel like he takes the easy option and passes to a Rashford or a Martial or someone close to him. Really, as a Man United fan, I don't even care if he, tries to take on a player and loses the ball. I'd rather him kind of, try things and, go alone than, just try and, lay it off 2-yard pass and almost kind of just take the responsibility away from himself. He should have no fear. He should go for it and take it on himself. And today he didn't really do that too much. He did have a few shots on goal. He did have one shot on target. Unfortunately, he went straight at the keeper. But I feel like sometimes he does kind of make the easy pass, make the kind of short pass to one of our other senior players, when really he could have had a shot himself. So I think from Daniel James, I just want him to have a bit more confidence to do what he can do, because, all the Man United fans are behind him. We know he has ability to kind of cause defenders problems. So, we would like to see a bit more from that case. So, I don't know. It's frustrating to watch, but still, I feel like Daniel James has got something to offer us this season. Wan-Bissaka today, he didn't have too much, to go up against, but I thought he actually did pretty well in that right-back role. He was very strong. Got most of his tackling done, was very successful, but as I said, not too much to deal with in terms of that left-hand side, but he mastered it very well. As I said, I don't really think of anyone else who really stood out in today's game. 20 Sports Spurs, Patrick says, Real Madrid shipping 7 against Atletico doesn't mean they're shitty defence for the next season, so I'm not really bothered until the season starts. That's the thing, pre-season, can tell you a bit about what direction you're going in as a club, but it doesn't tell you the full story. And even though, we won the game 1-0 only in today's game, it doesn't mean that our attack is crap, but still, you would expect a bit more from the team, and we just weren't clinical enough. On another day, we might have racked up 3, 4 or 5, but today we just weren't clinical enough, and it wasn't a brilliant performance, really. It wasn't a vintage performance, as I said before. Tech said if Dybala signs for United, then what does that mean for Danny the Fanny James? I don't know. I mean, I don't think we'll see Dybala playing a winger. I feel like if we do see Dybala and we do play the 4-2-3-1 as Krishna suggests, then I feel like we're going to see Dybala playing as the furthest forward central midfielder in a kind of attacking midfielder role. I feel like that's where he plays for Juventus. That's probably where he's best. So I feel like Daniel James will still be able to be in the side. Of course, Daniel James probably more likely to be a winger. But still, I think I feel like I think Daniel James is all right. And even so, I'm not sure whether Daniel James is going to start for Manchester United next season. I think Solskjaer will be showing a lot of faith in him if he started every game next year. But it could happen because we haven't really got too many winger options. Of course, the only real only real player you could really play in Daniel James' position would be someone like a Jesse Lingard, or even potentially Mason Greenwood. He could get a start. So I feel like Daniel James could play a lot of games for United next season, but at the same time, I think And to answer your question, I feel like, Daniel James and Dybala should be able to play in the same team. Welcome Rashford as well, thanks for joining. Please leave a like, guys, as well, if you haven't already. Really do appreciate your support on the recent videos. Patrick says, how many days till the window closes? Any real substance to Lukaku-Dybala swap deal? Well, Patrick, I think there's about 8 days left until the end of the transfer window. A lot of speculation, but still no official news on any of the transfers. Kind of highly rated sources, Tier 1 sources, as people say, like Damarcio and Fabrizio Romano, are saying that, some deals like Maguire deal and the Bruno Fernandes deal is kind of getting closer. So hopefully that there is substance to that. But of course you can't really, tell for certain anyway. Rashford says Pogba will stay at United. I hope so. I do hope Pogba will stay at United. Patrick says, yeah, Dybala and Pogba are thick as thieves. Well, I don't know what that means. Raza says, if we sign Dybala, fingers crossed, to Bruno Fernandes. Well, I feel like if we did sign, both those players, the fan base would be very happy indeed. I think there'd be 2 decent additions to the squad. But in the same time, do I really see it happening? I'm not sure. I give it about a 40% chance, just under half chance of those 2 coming in. I hope I'm proven wrong, but still. Techman says Lingard has really gone downhill, especially in pre-season. The performances he's been putting in have been well below par in pre-season. So it's not looking great for him if he is trying to stake a place to start in that team for next season, because his pre-season form hasn't been brilliant. So again, he might completely change. He might become a really good player in the Premier League, but this pre-season he's had an absolute shocker. But anyway, guys, I'm probably going to end it here. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined. Pretty uneventful game, not too many talking points from today's one. We go into that game against AC Milan on the 3rd of August, the last pre-season game before we take on Chelsea. And I know Techman is really looking forward to that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it as always. Leave a like if you aren't already. If you're watching as a video, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you so much as well for 730 subscribers. Next stop, 740 subscribers. So anything you guys can do to help us out to get to that total would be absolutely fantastic. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys probably very, very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.